You know what's crazy? You could spend your entire life wishing to be someone else, and still die never realizing that the very thing you hated about yourself was the thing that made you unique. Most people live trapped in that prison of comparison, and it kills their joy. But let me tell you a story that might change how you see yourself forever. There's this moment in life when you look at others, friends, classmates, people online, and you feel small. They're smarter, better looking, richer, more popular. And then, without even knowing, you start measuring your own worth with their ruler. That's the trap. In this video, I'm going to take you through a powerful story that will show you why comparison is poison, why it never ends, and why accepting who you are isn't just feel-good advice. It's survival. Daniel's life didn't magically change overnight after that classroom moment. Sure, the applause gave him confidence, but self-doubt is sticky. It doesn't just disappear. For the first few weeks after his speech, he felt a spark. He sketched more often, carrying a notebook around in his backpack. He even caught himself daydreaming in class, thinking about new ideas to draw. But then, the little voices crept back in. You're not a real artist. People only clapped because they felt sorry for you. Look at the kids online. They're better than you'll ever be. Every time he opened his sketchbook, he felt like he was fighting himself. And sometimes, he lost. Sometimes, he'd crumple up the page, toss it in the trash, and stare at his phone for hours, scrolling through other people's lives. This is important to understand. Growth isn't a straight line. You don't just believe in yourself one day, and suddenly everything is perfect. It's messy. You fall back into old habits. You doubt yourself. You feel like giving up. That was Daniel's reality. But here's what kept him going. Deep down, he knew how it felt when he was drawing. That feeling. The calm. The focus. The little rush when something on paper turned out better than he expected. That feeling was worth more than the voices in his head. So he kept going. In high school, Daniel didn't suddenly become popular. He wasn't the star of the soccer team. He wasn't winning awards, but something small shifted. Instead of trying so hard to fit in, he started leaning into who he really was. He stopped buying every trend. He stopped forcing fake laughs. And though he still struggled, he began to notice people respected him more. Not because he was cool, but because he was real. When he posted a few drawings on social media, the reaction surprised him. People commented things like, "Wow, I didn't know you could draw," or, "This is actually really good." Even kids he never spoke to at school sent messages asking if he could draw their favorite characters. It was small stuff. Nothing viral. Nothing huge. But it was enough. Enough to remind him, maybe I do have something. By the time he graduated and entered college, drawing wasn't just a side hobby. It was part of his identity. He signed up for a few art classes, even though part of him still felt nervous about being compared. And yes, it happened. The first day of class, he saw students pulling out massive portfolios, sketchbooks filled with jaw-dropping art. Instantly, the voice in his head screamed, "You don't belong here!" But here's the difference. This time, Daniel didn't quit. He sat through that class, even when his work felt smaller. He turned in assignments, even when he thought they weren't good enough. And slowly, something shifted again. One of his professors pulled him aside after class and said, "You have something in your style. Don't underestimate it." That sentence stuck with him. Then came the first real win. A local cafe was looking for student artists to display their work. A friend dared him to submit his sketches. Daniel hesitated, but he sent a few drawings anyway. A week later, the cafe said yes. The night they put his sketches up on the wall, Daniel sat in the corner, pretending to do homework. He secretly watched as strangers walked by, paused, and looked at his work. Some even pointed and smiled. It was a small thing, a few pencil sketches in a local coffee shop. But for Daniel, it felt like the world. For the first time, people he didn't even know were connecting with his gift. From there, it snowballed. Slowly. Not in a movie like instant success way, but in the slow grind of real life. He started selling small art prints online. At first, he barely sold anything, just 1 or 2 orders a month. He'd package them carefully, writing little thank you notes by hand, because he couldn't believe someone actually paid for his art. He taught drawing classes to a few kids in his neighborhood. He saved the money and bought better supplies. Of course, he still struggled. There were months when nothing sold, weeks when he thought about quitting, nights when he compared himself to other artists online and thought, I'll never be that good. But every time he considered stopping, he remembered how it felt to be the kid in that classroom, showing his drawing and hearing the applause. That memory became his anchor. And here's the biggest shift. Daniel stopped measuring his worth with someone else's ruler. Instead of asking, am I as good as them? He started asking, am I better than I was yesterday? That small change changed everything. It wasn't about being the best in the world. It was about being the best version of himself. By the time Daniel finished college, he wasn't rich, he wasn't famous, but he had built something that made him proud. He had an online store with regular customers. He had taught dozens of kids how to draw. He had a small community of people who looked at his work and said, this inspires me. And here's the most important part. He finally liked himself. Not because he won the comparison game, but because he stopped playing it. Think about that. All those years of chasing trends, of pretending to be someone else, of comparing himself to others, it only led to emptiness. The moment he accepted who he was, life started to feel lighter. The truth is, you don't need to be better than anyone else. You just need to be you. And that's the kind of freedom no amount of likes, grades, or followers can give. Here's what you need to take from this story. You will always, always find someone who seems richer, smarter, better looking, or more talented. That's a guarantee. You could be at the very top of your game, and still, there will be someone who looks like they're doing better. And if you live your life chasing that, if you measure your worth based on someone else's highlight reel, you will always feel empty. That's the trap. Comparison has no finish line. The only way out is to flip the question. Stop asking, why don't I have what they have? And start asking, what do I already have that I've been ignoring? Because chances are, you're overlooking the things that make you, you. Maybe you're not the fastest runner, but you're the friend everyone trusts when they need advice. Maybe you're not the top of the class, but you're the one who can make people laugh even on the worst days. Maybe you don't have money right now, but you've got ideas, creativity, kindness, or resilience, the kinds of things that can't be bought. Think about it. The people you admire, they're not loved because they're trying to copy someone else. They're loved because they leaned into what made them different. And that's the same for you. Your worth is not in comparison. It's in authenticity. The moment you stop trying to be them and start being you, you win. That's the game changer. So the next time you catch yourself scrolling and feeling small, remember Daniel's story. Remember that what makes you different isn't a weakness. It's your power. If you want more stories like this, watch the next video.